Well, hello everyone. Welcome to a rare Friday night stream for me. Um, Hope you're all doing well out there. We have about two people here, really, and I'm not really quite sure how many people are going to show up at this hour. Like I said, this is a rarity for me. My wife's already asleep. We are in the midst of a tropical storm. I think it's Ophelia. Um, 70-mile-an-hour winds. It's raining really heavily outside. Hopefully, the power will stay on for the stream. And I just kind of figured, what the heck? Let's hang out with a couple of friends on the channel and see who shows up. Kind of give you an idea of what's been going on here in the studio on this channel and on another channel that I'm currently involved with. Show you some new gear in the studio, see where it goes, and we'll go from there. But in any event, if you're here, please say hello in the chat. I saw a few friends already there. So we'll go and we will say hello to the folks that are here so far. And my favorite comment of the night so far, have you lost your mind? 9:45 live stream. Yes, I've lost my mind because typically I would be in bed by now watching TV and about to fall asleep. So, but here I am. So it's a treat for some of you, I'm sure. Others probably can't give a shit, but who cares? But anyway, that is my favorite comment of the night. So hello, Joe. Thank you for being here. And thank you for asking folks to watch the stream. Hello, Ashley. Thank you for joining. And will Bennett the book be here tonight? I don't think Bennett the book is going to be here tonight. But if you're out there and you're wondering who Bennett the book is, well, then you'll just have to tune into another channel that goes live on Wednesday evenings at 7 o'clock, and you will get to meet Bennett the book and find out who he is. So in any event, again, I want to thank you for being here, whoever's here. Again, I'm not quite too sure what the turnout's going to be this evening, but what the heck. Grab your beverage of choice, whatever it is. Like the stream. Join me for a little bit. We'll see how long this goes. Tonight, I'm just keeping it really simple. We have sugar-free Crystal Light lemonade, a berry-flavored lemonade in the cup. So in any event, hopefully you guys can see me okay, hear me okay. Probably could see behind me that the studio has undergone a drastic change in look. We'll talk a little bit about that tonight and what's going on in the back there and why it's looking like this. But for now, Crystal, yes, what does that say? Crystal Light iced tea here. Yep. Great minds think alike. And thank you. Can see and hear well. Appreciate that. Appreciate that very much, Joe. So we only have two of you here. Looks like it's probably Joe and Ashley. But that's okay. That's okay. Hopefully more people will come in as the stream goes on. Again, this is a rarity for me, especially not only being a Friday night, but also being at this hour at 9:45. I contemplated it all day, whether I wanted to do it or not do it, but whatever. Here we are. Oh, give my niece Brinley a big hug and a kiss for me. Hi, Brinley. Minnie Mouse is downstairs. She wanted to make a cameo tonight, but I told her, nah, probably not a good idea. So, anyway, so let's see. You know, I contemplated this all day. There's so much going on here at Quick Tech Solutions and in the studio itself. I've been playing with a bunch of different things, and I took a trip last week on the motorcycle. I may share a few of those pictures with some of you. We'll see. There's a whole bunch of things we can talk about. I'm just not quite sure. I didn't put anything together as far as a lineup. Now, you know, I like to normally be super prepared with an outline, but tonight I just kind of figured I'm going to just go for it, random, whatever comes up, comes up. So That said, I think I want to start with talking about the Rodecaster Pro 2. If you were with me in the last stream, you probably remember one of the new pieces of gear that I had purchased was the Rodecaster Pro 2. And I struggled with it that entire stream. In fact, that entire stream turned out being feedback from everybody in the stream trying to help me tweak the settings. And shortly after that, well, actually, let me step back a second. I did watch that stream after, and the audio was just awful. No matter how we tried tweaking it, and you guys were saying, hey, it's a little better, it's this, it's that, it's better, it really was brutal. So, with that, my friend Joe spent some time with me, I think the following Saturday, and we spent a good hour to hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours, trying to tweak the settings on the Rodecaster Pro. And as Joe could attest, it just wasn't working out to be what I had hoped to be. And I know there's a lot of other YouTubers out there that love the Rodecaster Pro and swear by it. And I'm not going to say it's not a nice piece of equipment, because it really does have a lot of nice features for the money. It makes USB mix minus really super simple. It's got some really nice built-in effects. But I think the problem we were having with it was tweaking the compression in the gate, and also getting it to output enough gain into the ATEM so that it would be at a proper level. So we couldn't get that achieved without cranking the gain on the mics all the way up. The output was fixed. It was like we couldn't adjust the output gain on the Rodecaster Pro. So in turn, we had to throw up or push up the mic gain on the ATEM preamps, and it was just awful. Funny enough, another friend who will remain nameless, when I told him I bought the Rodecaster Pro, his reaction to that was, "Why don't you get a real mixer? How come you bought that?" So, and I laughed it off at the time, but honestly, and I was like, "Oh, come on, everybody loves the Rodecaster Pro. How could you say that?" But honestly, after that stream, and then after spending some time with it, with Joe, I actually look back and think back to that comment and go like, that guy was right. That person was right. Like, again, person will remain nameless. So, update on the Rodecaster Pro is after the session on Saturday where Joe and I tried getting it, configured. It went back in the box, wrapped up, return label, back to Amazon. So no more Rodecaster Pro. Now, so what am I using tonight? Well, right now I'm using something called, let me bring it up on the screen, and then maybe I'll show it to you. Okay, let me switch screens for a second. Okay, so right now I'm using this device here. It's the SSL12 by Solid State Logic. And so far, I am loving every bit of it. I don't know a lot about it. I'm using very basic features on it. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 mic inputs. It has 4 balanced outputs, 2 headphones. It has instrument inputs in the front, 2 headphones here. The thing about this device is it's extremely versatile and routable, and that's basically what I'm using it for. I'm using it for a mix minus situation. I'm running 2 mics through it now. The thing is amazing. I have so much more to learn about this device, but I want to thank Joe for making this recommendation after I sent the Rodecaster Pro back. So using it in this stream tonight, hopefully it sounds better than the Rodecaster Pro did in the last stream. And it's also being used on another channel. There's a sports show that I've been producing as of late. It's called Schwartz Talking Sports. And it's a really fun show. I'm having a great time producing it, and the audio that it's producing for that show is absolutely terrific. Les, the host, sounds awesome. My Zoom callers that I'm bringing in remotely, considering they're coming in through Zoom, they sound pretty awesome as well. So yeah, so far I am happy with the SSL 12. I've added a few things to the mix to complement the SSL 12. I will show you them this evening. We'll talk about it, but right now I have the SSL 12 going directly into the ATEM, and I'm doing all the EQ and the compression and the gate and the limiter in the ATEM um, audio mixer. So, but that's going to soon change. So in any event, yeah. So that's the story on the Rodecaster Pro. I was really excited to get it, but it was short lived in this studio anyway. So here we go. So let's see what the people in the chat say. Joe says Rodecaster Pro 2 is not a bad unit, but some of the feature set are dumbed down. So if you want to make granular tweaks, it's difficult. And that's exactly what we were experiencing that day. That was well said, Joe. I couldn't have said it better, and I was trying to say it in such a way because I didn't want to put it down, but it just wasn't working for me. So that you said it perfectly. Let's see. SSL is known for their pro recording studio boards. Okay. Excited to see what it looks like on your desk. Yep, we're going to get to that. I'm going to pull up the camera. In fact, what I want to do now very quickly is let me get into another new device that I've done a couple of videos on this week, and that is the KiloView D350 decoder. So let me get into the interface real quick, and then I'll switch screens and bring you on board. Okay, let me switch. Let me see. Let me go here. Let's do this. And let's do this. Let's get the chat off the screen. Okay. So here's the interface to the KiloView D350. Let me get signed in, and then we'll get an SRT feed going from my phone, and then we'll bring that up, and I'm going to pan around the studio. I want to show you the inside, behind the scenes to the Schwartz Talking Sports set from a couple of different angles. I want to show you the SSL 12 on the desk. I want to show you a couple other pieces of equipment that I bought to complement the SSL 12 that I racked today, but they're just not hooked up. I spent a little time reconfiguring my desktop rack, so I just want to show you that and go over that and talk about what it was and what it is. So in any event, let me get signed in. Okay, so we're signed into the KiloView D350 decoder, and let me grab my phone real quick, and I'm going to start a stream using an app called Stream to Studio. So I'm going to stream wirelessly to the decoder, and I'll bring in a stream live. I'll create it and bring it in and let you see it in the actual interface. So let me at least get the stream going on the phone. There we go. Let me just place that down here for a second. Okay, so now got the phone is streaming. So what we're going to do up here on the interface is we're going to come down here where it says add, and we're going to, I'll just call this iPhone because we're streaming from the iPhone. And we're going to come over to where it says source type, and we're going to click on SRT. I'm going to leave it in listener mode. I am going to drop the latency down to match what it is on the phone, down to 120. And I'm not going to do anything with the advanced settings. You can actually go in to the advanced settings and set an SRT stream ID. You could set encryption, the ASE key, AES key, etc. But we're not going to do any of that advanced stuff for now. This right here is enough to get the stream going. So let's say okay, And now if you could look here in the corner here in the source window, I have the iPhone SRT stream. So now it's not yet obviously being seen. You could preview it by dragging it up into the preview window, but it's still not outputting out the HDMI port on the decoder just yet. So there it is. You can see there's the stream. You can see we're previewing it. It's picking me up, moving my mouse. It turned from orange to blue to green. Once it turns green, the stream does show up. This right here up in the upper left-hand corner is really cool. It is actually all of the stats regarding the feed, like the bit rate, the resolution, all that stuff. So it's really handy there to have, especially if you're troubleshooting. You can turn it off if you don't want to see it by just clicking the toggle here. However, let's get the stream out, going out the HDMI port. So let's drag it over into the output window. And you can see I have HDMI 1 turned on here. The green bullet is on. So now if I switch over to that camera, now you can see there's the iPhone stream right there. Okay, so now we have that working. So now what I want to show you is there's the SSL12. And actually, I'm going to switch mics real quick so that I can get up and move around the room. So give me 1 second. Okay, hopefully you can hear me now. I'm using the Rode Wireless Go 2. It's probably got a little bit more noise, background noise, but I'm hoping you can hear me okay. All right, so there's the SSL12. So the first microphone coming in there, that's Les's mic. And the second microphone is my mic. And then in the back, you see the output to the cables coming out for going to the ATEM. So you have your gain control here. Now, Joe, I know you're familiar with this, but for those of the others who are not, here's a 4K button on each channel. And this is effects for one of their bigger mixers, the 4000 series, I think it is. Here's your output control, headphones, different buttons here, cut buttons, volume control here for the actual headphone out, and then there's your 2 instrument ins. Now, if we go take a look at the back of the unit, just bear with me as I walk around. Okay, so looking at the back of the unit, you have your XLR in, you have 4 of them. Here's 1 pair of outs here. Here's your other pair of outs, which can be used to power monitors. Then you have, I believe this is MIDI in and out here, and then this is ADAT, and that I'm not 100% sure, I'm not familiar with that at all, but from what I've watched in the videos, this allows you to bring in 8 additional channels externally. So it really is a 12-channel mixer, if you want to think of it that way, or audio interface actually. And then here's your USB, and this is connected to my MacBook Pro. So that's the SSL12, and that has replaced the actual Rodecaster Pro 2, which the Rodecaster Pro 2 originally was purchased to replace, let me get my glasses out of the way, not 1 pair, but 2, was originally purchased to replace this guy right here. This is the DBX 286 audio sound processor, single unit for a single microphone. So what we've done so far now is we've gotten the SSL12. Right now it's feeding into the ATEM, but eventually it's going to feed into the unit right here, which is another DBX unit. It's the 266S. It's a dual channel compressor and gate. Now this button right here puts it into stereo mode, so it can be used in stereo or 2 individual mono channel. And then I have the DBX 231S 31 band EQ. So you can see I racked them, and I needed to gain 3 more U's in the rack. So I had an available U down at the bottom. It was just a blank plate. This brush plate was up one. These two patch panels and the Unify switch was up here. It was Unify switch, patch panel, patch panel. So, and then this shelf up here was down one. So I had an available slot, available U up here. I had an available U down here. And then when I pulled, the DBX was right here. So when I pulled the DBX out, it gave me the third U became available. So I shifted things around, and that's what the rack looks like now. Now I only racked them. I have not connected any of the cables in the background just yet. But yeah, I'm excited to get going with them, and I'm probably going to need a little assistance along the way. Hint, hint, Joe. Up on the top here, that's the hyperdeck. Now up on the top, I originally had 3 U-Ray decoders, and right now they are down there on the floor, piled up. I replaced those with, let me switch back to my main, actually let me switch back to this right here. Let me switch microphones. Okay, so let me put that down. All right, so I switched from the 3 U-Ray decoders to this KiloView decoder because it can output 2 HDMI outs and it can output 3G SDI. So I could actually do the work of those 3 decoders with the 1 decoder. If I wanted to bring in 3 streams, whether it be SRT, NDI, whatever, RTMP, I can do that with the 1 box. And then on the back, just take HDMI 1 out, HDMI 2 out, and SDI out into the ATEM. So I don't have them up on the rack anymore. They're kind of semi-retired for now until I come up with another use case for them, or maybe I'll just sell them. I don't know. So in any event, that's the update now with the Rodecaster Pro and the new audio gear that I hopefully will get incorporated into the studio within the next week or so. So that said, we're going to be making a quick trip up to Pennsylvania this week. Unfortunately, we had a little sudden bad news in the family, so we have to make a trip up north. But we'll be back early in the week, and hopefully I can start playing with that new audio gear because I am excited to do so. All right, so we have 7 of you here, 5 likes. I'll take it. Let me go back to the comments and see if anybody else has joined. And Joe says, I don't hear a stitch of noise in the room. Joe, was that with, was that when I was using the wireless or when I'm using the RE320? Curious. In my last video, in fact, the video that I produced today, I was aggravated, aside from the fact that the video is tanking, it's performing poorly, but whatever. When I was listening to it with my headphones on, every once in a while I heard a little bit of I guess I want to say a little bit 60 hertz electrical noise, not throughout the entire video, but for 2 to 3 seconds at a time. And it happened like 2 or 3 times in the video at various spots. You really got to listen for it, but it's there. So today I spent, like I said, I re-racked the rack, and I spent a lot of time in the back trying to clean up the wires, taking out cables that I don't need, rerouting cables, getting audio cables away from electric cables, the whole bit. So hopefully you're not hearing any of that in tonight's stream using this microphone. But I'm curious, Joe, if this comment is referring to the wireless or to the RE320. All right, let's see. Jeremy, welcome. Thank you for being here. How is the content challenge coming along? I see you've been really on target with posting. I started watching your tail scale alternative video today, but then I got sidetracked, so I have to go back and finish that. And more importantly, how are you holding up? And let me know in the comments, because I know I interviewed you after your last challenge. Let me know in the comments quickly if you can summarize how it's going. Is it easier for you this time around? Because I know you went into it this time having the experience from last time, and I know you came up with a plan this time to approach it. So kind of give me an idea of how that's going. Good evening, Jason's Lab. Thank you for being here. I did get your signal message before. I was just about to go live. That's why I did not respond. Great video you put out today on the Grand Stream gear. Now, I think I commented on your video. I can't get over how simple, how much easier the management of the VLANs were in the GWN.cloud versus the videos that I did recently with the, manually configuring the VLANs on the actual Switch user interface. So, yeah, I was really impressed. I don't use GWN Cloud all that much, but I was really happy when I saw your video to see how simple it was. It was like, I know you're not going to like me saying this, Jason, but it was almost like Unify-like, as compared to doing it manually in the Switch. It's much more complex. But thank you for being here. Hello, TVJ. I know you can't stay. I didn't think I'd see you at all tonight. I know you're working a football game, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, there we go. And he's finished. Okay, cool. Joe says no noise on either side. Interesting. I know today when I was testing out the Wireless Go, and I had the headphones on, the studio headphones on, when I was switching between the two mics, I could definitely hear the hiss in the background when I had the Wireless Go on. Cool. So Jeremy says, I've been eyeing the Rodecaster Pro Duo lately. Maybe in 2024, I will give the audio another bump. Again, Rode makes a great product. It just wasn't a good fit for me. Keith Bennett loves it. Tom Buck, huge. And I'm not name dropping for any other reason other than to say that these guys are like pro Rodecaster Pro, especially Tom Buck. So, it has its purpose. It just wasn't a fit for me. So Jeremy says, I am holding up well. When I was sick for a couple of days, it really derailed the challenge. I've only published 14 videos this month. I'll hit 20, but I'm not going to make the 30. I drive myself nuts. Well, okay. Fair enough. So, all right. So, let's see. We got 5 of you here, 6 likes. Let's take a look now. Actually, I want to talk about what you see behind me, because my studio is kind of like reconfigured. It's serving the purpose for me here for doing my YouTube stuff, but it's kind of also serving a dual purpose. You can see I have a backdrop set up behind me. Let me grab the actual SRT cam again and take you around. Let me switch microphones. Okay, and let me switch cameras. There we go. All right, so hopefully you guys can hear me. I can see it on the meters. So let's take a look back. So we're running a show out of this studio called Schwartz Talking Sports. And let me give you a look at the set from behind the camera. So there's the set from behind the camera. So what we have is the director's chair right there where Les sits. We have that's an 8x6 backdrop. It's a vinyl backdrop. You can see the Roger Maris jersey hanging on it. Right up above is a hair light. It's an LED panel. And then You can see here he's got a little side table. We got another RE320 with a Rode PSA-1 boom arm. A little side table. Les is a big LSU fan, so there's the actual football helmet prop. Again, there's another look at the director's chair. Now, we have two of those director's chairs in case we ever want to have, you know, two guests in the studio, but I just don't know room-wise how I would accommodate that. We're very tight as it is now. You can see I have an LED panel on each side of on the floor, you know, trying to illuminate the bottom of the backdrop. I do have a small light up here that doesn't do much, but the way the shot is composed for the sports show, it just illuminates that area enough to match the rest of the lighting. So it's just adding a little oomph right there. And then looking at it this way, let me take you into from where the director sits and what the director sees, not the director, but where Les sits in the director chair and what he sees when he's live on camera. So this is what Les sees in front of him. There's the camera right there. I'm using a 24mm lens. The camera's literally probably 4 to 5 feet in front of Les. I have a little reminder board down there so that he doesn't forget to do certain things in the show, because as you can see, the control station's right there. So it's not like I can be in a separate room and talk to him. I do have the ability, that SS2 has a built-in mic so that I could talk to Les when he's got his earbuds in, but being in the same room, that makes it kind of hard. So, you know, I'm sitting at the control station, you know, waving my arms frantically, giving him certain cues and certain signals as we, you know, come into the end of one segment, going into commercial, things like that. There's a monitor there in front of him for reference. Now, right now you're looking at the it's outputting the multi-view for this stream, but what he sees is the program so that he knows when he's on air, when the commercials are on air, when we're going to be coming back to him live. So that's very helpful for him. And then the big light there, that's an Amaron 100D. I think that's a 32 or 37 inch softbox. I'm not sure, again, on the size, but what I do, that's at 40% right now for my lighting purposes. But when we do the Swartz Talking Sports show, that gets angled a little higher up and it gets turned more directly towards the camera here, towards the director's chair, and I'm pumping that up at 100%. And then to help, I have a fill light there. Actually, the fill light is here to his left and the key light is here to his right. And that light, like I said, the big light is just illuminating the whole space. The lighting seems to be working out. It looks pretty good on the show. It's not really super ideal, but it seems to be working. And so that's pretty much it. And then here's the look from where I sit. So where I'm sitting at Mission Control, I see Les in that chair and I give him hand cues and things like that. And then there's my multi-view for my backdrop and then my set there. So as you can see, the studio's doing double duty. I'm having a ton of fun with this. I do have another brand new addition to the studio. Let me see if I can show it to you. Under this monitor, I have a brand new Mac Mini that I purchased. That's the M2. And I use that to bring in, let me just lay this down for now. I use that to bring in remote guests. So let me switch cameras again. And let me switch microphones. Let me put this down. Okay. So the Mac Mini that I just showed you, I use to bring in a second guest, and then I bring in the main guest of the Swartz Talking Sports show on my, did I say Mac Studio? The Mac Mini. And then I bring the main guest in on my Mac Studio, which is right behind this MacBook here. So that's a little tour of my set here with the changes to the upcoming changes to the audio. You saw what's going on behind me and why it's there now. I gave you a little behind the scenes to the actual Schwartz Talking Sports set. Let me put, oh, thank you, Joe. I was just going to say I wanted to put the link to Schwartz Talking Sports in the chat. So thank you very much, Joe, for doing that. I just saw it pop up on the screen. It's funny too, because I got less turned on to doing shorts. I told him, look, you really need to kind of get content out there besides the live streams. I'm super excited because he just hired a social media marketing person. So now really all I have to do is produce here in the studio, do the live shows. After that, I was taking the live show. It's up on Google, Spotify, and also Google Podcasts and Spotify as podcasts. I think it's a video podcast and audio podcast on Spotify. It's only an audio podcast on Google. And then I was taking the actual, I would record the live show here in the ATEM on an SSD drive, and then the next day after the live show, I would upload that to the podcast platforms. But then I would also take that footage and then I would start cutting it up into smaller YouTube videos, just highlighting key moments. And it's really nice that he's got somebody now that is going to pick up the social media and add in Instagram, add in TikTok, get him going on a Facebook page. So yeah, some really exciting stuff. He called me today too. I don't know. I don't, it's not my place to share it, but he called me today, super excited. Some really nice things are on the horizon for the show. And if what he told me today actually comes to pass, it's going to be really interesting to see where this goes. So guys, if you haven't checked it out, if you're into sports, he talks college sports, he talks pro sports. It's not only football. It's been focusing on football these last couple of weeks. Like we had Bob Harris on this past Wednesday, the linebacker from the, at that time, St. Louis Cardinals football team. Auburn. He was also a college Auburn Tiger. He's focusing on football now because the football season just got kicked off. We're going to do some baseball. We're going to cover the MLB playoffs, World Series. Next week's show is about all about golf. He's got a golf pro coming on and talking about the Ryder Cup. So it's a total array, a variety of all different kinds of sports. So definitely, if you're into sports, something to check out. Like I said, I'm having a blast producing it, and he's really good. He's really good on camera. He had a show in Boston in the 90s. It was called Sports Rap. So he's comfortable on camera. He's just got it. He's like the package. So it's been really working out well. All right, so let me go back to the comments and see where we're at. There's the link for Schwartz Talking Sports. Oh, I was about to tell you. Every time I say Schwartz Talking Sports, I think I'm going to stumble over myself. But where I was going with this is I taught him how to do the shorts, and he's really comfortable with it now. He's pumping out like sometimes 2 or 3 a day. Definitely trying to get one out every day or every other day. He came up with Schwartz Sports Shorts, and I could barely say it at that speed. And when he starts his shorts off now by saying, what does he say? Hi, I'm Les from Schwartz Talking Sports, and today we have another Schwartz Sports Talk. I can see I screwed it up. I can't even say what he says, but Schwartz Sports Short, and oh my God, it's just so funny. But he says it like no problem whatsoever. So anyway, show is great. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Jeremy says, I've watched a couple of episodes, but I'm not a huge sports person. I at least let it play in the background while I'm doing other things. Well, I appreciate that, Jeremy, very, very much. So let's see. Let me do that. Any comments? Anything on the tour, around the studio, the set, any suggestions, anything. I'm open. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Les Schwartz wearing shorts while Tony snorts. I like it. All right. Let's see what else. Oh, is there anything else I wanted to show you with the SRT cam real quick? I think that's it. I want to show you guys something. This thing is a beast. Let's see if I can get it out of the box without destroying things here. Okay, so this is... Actually, I'm going to switch microphones. I need to move the RE320 out of the way. Okay. So this is the Unify UAP Mesh Pro. Actually, UAP AC M Pro Mesh Pro. This thing is a beast. Look at the size of this thing. Right? A heck of a lot bigger than the UAP AC Mesh, the little smaller, skinnier unit with the two little tiny antennas that you can move around. This thing is tremendous. It's got pole mount, which snaps into place, pole or wall mounting, and all the hardware for mounting it comes in the box. In fact, let me see what we got real quick. Let me go to the top-down cam. Oops, sorry about that. Got to turn it on. There we go. So let's see what we get. And this is zoomed pretty much all the way out there. So, all right, so we got the power cord. We got the quick start guide. When you buy the single unit, it does come with the actual PoE injector, which is cool, 48 volt PoE injector. When you buy it in the 5-pack, it doesn't, because if you're buying 5-packs, I'm assuming, well, I'm guessing they're assuming that you're going to actually power it with a PoE switch, but when you buy the single unit, they do give you the actual PoE injector. Bolts for using the, I believe that's what these are, yep, threaded bolts for using the actual pole mounting. Like if you want to put it around a pole, one side of the pole goes in the middle like that, and then you put the unit around the pole like that. I have not fired this thing up yet. This is for a client who has an outdoor shed about, I could bring back the other mic now. He has an outdoor shed about 200 feet away from the back of his house. And on the side of the shed, he's got his in-ground pool filter equipment. Let me see if I can draw this out for you. My artistry sucks, but I'm going to try it anyway. So let me do this. Let me bring a drawing program up on the screen, and then we'll switch cameras. Just so I give you some sort of visual of what I'm talking about so you can appreciate it. Let's go here. Give me 1 second. Just going to open up a Google Google Doc. I haven't used Google Draw in a while, so this should be interesting. All right, let's switch. Okay, so let's say let me get a square. This is going to be really simple, like squares and circles and lines, but it'll give you the idea. So let's say this is his house. Okay, let's not and say we did. Shapes. Let's see. There we go. Let's say that's his house, back of his house. Coming off the back of the house. Let's see, am I on? There we go. Coming off the back of his house, he's got a rectangular built-in pool. And let's just assume all this is his property. All the area, the outline of the document, his property is huge. In the back here, straight back here, he's got, oh, come on. Can't you just select these tools and keep them? There we go. All right, let's use that, whatever. Let's bring that over here, and straight back behind the pool, he's got a trellis and a fence leading to the, going off the property. These are all gardens here off to the right side here. This is just kind of all grass area. And then in the corner back here, let me draw another little box if I can figure it out. In the back here, he's got a shed. So, and right next to the shed, right in this area here, is all his filter pool equipment. So inside his house, in the very front of his house, in the front office here, see if I can draw a square on a square. Yep. In the front office here, he's got his cable modem coming in with the coax, and then he's feeding a very old, inexpensive Wi-Fi router, which is just sitting on top of like a bookshelf or an armoire or something like that. So it's obviously doing an okay job for the house, but to get the Wi-Fi all the way out here, which is what he needs to do, I guess I failed to say that pool equipment is Wi-Fi, supports Wi-Fi, and he could control it and monitor it from his phone. So that's the whole purpose here. So it's not making it out to here. So he called me, and I've done some work for the guy. He called me. He's like, what can we do? Can we just go out to like Best Buy and buy a booster? And I'm like, yeah, no, don't do that. So what I did was I went to his house. And let me just get a circle here. I went to his house, and let's just say over here he's got gardens. Gardens. Let me just do copy and paste. Hold on, let's just drag this. Gardens, and then let's say he's got a big garden here. Like an oval garden like that. All trees, all shrubs, tall trees and everything. So, came up with a couple of ideas. Actually, called Joe that day too while I was in the yard and bounced the ideas off of him. So a couple of things came up with. One was, my first thought was mounting an access point on the peak of the house in this area here, right on the back of the house, but not sure if it would be strong enough to make it to the shed area. That the distance is about 200 feet. So, and might even be more. So we talked about potentially trenching, because the yard's all dug up right now because the pool was just put in. So there's really, I said this is grass area, but there's really no grass. It's all dirt right now. So being able to trench and bury a line would be the time to do it. Wouldn't be a problem. So we talked about that, but I think we'd be going between the distance from here to here, and then we got to get under the house to the router, and then the bends down and up. I think we'd be very close to the 328 feet maximum. So I suggested we don't do that. So we talked about putting up a pole in this garden here, because there's all tall trees and stuff, so the pole would get lost. It's not like the pole would be an eyesore. We talked about putting up a pole here and mounting an outdoor access point. Originally, I was thinking the original UAP AC mesh on the pole here, with the thought process being splitting the difference from the house to here. Even if we buried the line to here, we'd still be within the distance, the required distance, and that would supply Wi-Fi to the whole outdoor pool area, and should supply Wi-Fi, be sufficient to get Wi-Fi over to the pool equipment. That was one thing we talked about. The other thing we talked about was, what if we mounted an access point on the back of the house? Would it make it far enough to there? And then the other thing we talked about was using the point-to-point system that I did a video on, that I lent to Jay, the UV system, and just mounting the point-to-point on the back of the house, the transmitter here, the receiver here. The problem is there's a lot of trees in the way. Now, he was willing to take down some trees and cut down a lot of the brush to make line of sight. So that was also one of the options, and then plug an access point into the receiver side. And then the other option came up with was to avoid having to deal with all the trees and the brush using the point-to-point. We had a clear line of sight if we put a point-to-point here on the back of the house. If we put the receiver here and the transmitter here and the receiver back here on this trellis, then we could plug an access point in here on this side, and it would definitely, get the Wi-Fi over to the necessary pool equipment. So those were the different options we came up with. What I did was I went back to his house the next day with a Voxel cable and a UAC AC light, the smallest, least powerful access point that Ubiquiti has. And what we did was I made up a cable long enough to go from the front office through his house out here to the backyard right behind his house. And my thought process was, if the UAP AC Pro, if the UAP AC light supplies enough distance and gets the Wi-Fi over to here, then we're good to go. Then we don't have to trench a line underground and put up a pole here to put up an access point. We don't have to do the point-to-point. We can just mount an access point on the back of the house and problem solve. So that's what we did. So we tried to get our baseline with the UAP AC light and the temporary cable. It's been working fine now for a week and a half. The pool guy came out, I think, the next day after I brought the UAP AC light. Now, it's not mounted. It's just sitting there. In fact, it's not even on the outside of the house. This area right here, inside the house is like a screened-in area. Right now, he's just got it on a little table sitting right up, on the inside of the screen. So it's not even mounted on the outside of the house, and it's getting the job done. He's had it for about a week and a half. I've checked in with him a couple of times. I've been monitoring it on my controller. It seems fine. The pool guy came the very next day after we did this temporary setup and got the stuff connected, and it's been running ever since. Like I said, now we're actually going on 2 weeks. So my thought process was, if the UAP AC light is handling the job, if I put a bigger, stronger access point out there on the back of the house, we're going to be good to go. Hence, that long drawn-out story is the reason why I got the UAP Mesh Pro. So, that said, what I should probably do now is try to connect it. Try to get it adopted. What do you think? Should we do that? So the bottom comes off. Let me switch cameras again. So the bottom comes off. There's got some waterproofing in there. And you got two ports. You got a main and a secondary and a reset button inside there. Cable goes through there into the RJ45 port, and then the weatherproof cover goes back on. So yeah, let me see if I can get this adopted. Okay. Let's get it plugged into the main. See if it lights up. There we go. We got a light. All right, so let it boot. Let me switch cameras. Let's go to back to the computer. Let's get out of here. Let me get signed into my Unify controller. I'm doing that off screen on purpose, guys. Okay. I'm in the network now. Okay, so there's the guy's network. And there you can see the UAP AC Pro is online. All right, so let this boot up. Let me check my DHCP server for an IP address. Again, I'm doing that part offline for a reason. Let's see if we got an IP address. Okay, and so where are we here? I think it's 111, but I'm not sure. Let me see. Hold on one second. Let me check that. Is that it? Nope, that's not it. Give me one sec, guys. I think it's that. Is it that? Let me try this one. There's only 4 leases, so it's got to be one of them. Okay, it's not that one. Alrighty. We'll try this again. I know you're just looking at the controller screen. I apologize. I'll be right there. That's not it either. What the heck is it? What's going on here? And that's not it either. What? That's weird. All right. Let's see. That's the Mac Studio. Bear with me here. I'm thinking it's 111, but why was it refusing the connection? Let's see. Let's try this one more time. Unable to negotiate. Port 22. Jeez. All right, let me see if I can figure this out another way. Actually, let me make sure that the port that it's on, hold on, let me check the VLAN that it's on. Give me 1 second. I have to go into my own. Let me go into my own home. Now I can bring you back there. Let me go in there. Let me go into the AV switch. Let's go to ports and let's go to port 15. Yeah, no, it's on. It should be, I should be getting the IP address from there. Okay. That's interesting. I'm not sure why I can't SSH into the device. Let me try one other thing. And let's see if this works. No longer supported. Damn. Oh well, guys. I was kind of hoping to just adopt this thing, but for some reason, I am just not able to get into it. And I'm not sure why. But in any event, I'll figure it out offline. But point being is, I wanted to show this thing to you. This thing is a beast. Look at it. It's got to be at least 14 inches in height. It's definitely about 6 inches in width, maybe 7 inches. It's only maybe 1.5 inches thick. It's not too thick, but wow, what a beast. Sorry I couldn't get the adoption done. Not like you guys haven't seen adoptions before, but I was kind of figuring what was out, I'd get that set up. Let me go back to the chat and see where we're at. All right. Jeremy says, I have one of those mounted to the outside of the library. Yeah, this is the first one I will be installing. Usually when I'm do residential homes, I do the UAP AC mesh, the smaller one. But a couple of guys commented on my Instagram reel the other day that they've installed quite a few of these, and they're extremely reliable and work very well. I definitely want to see pics from the ride. Okay, yep, we'll do that next, and then maybe we'll call it a night after that. We'll see. I need a Wacom tablet. Why Mesh Pro and not U6LR? Out of curiosity. Couple of reasons. One, he doesn't have Wi-Fi 6 in the house, so I didn't see a reason to bring a Wi-Fi 6 access point into the mix. And I'm not familiar with the U6LR as much as I am familiar with the AC version of the LR. The AC version of the LR is not outdoor rated. I know you were saying the U6, and then I looked it up. The U6 LR is outdoor rated. But with the LRs, I worry about not the LR itself, but the pool equipment's antennas not being able to get well, I guess it doesn't really matter, but I guess with the LRs, I always worry about the actual client device not being able to make it back to the LR. So in any event, this is a pretty important installation situation. There could be a lot riding on it. So I did this just to make sure like it's going to work. I wanted to go above and beyond, like over the top, so I didn't have to worry about it. This is not the customer that I want to have any issues with. So I felt if the UAP AC Lite is doing the job, this should be like overkill, but at least I know peace of mind that I'll get the job done. All right. Can you show specs of the Mesh Pro? Yeah, sure. Let me bring it back up. Let me go to UI.com. Switch cameras. Okay, let's go to store search, Wi-Fi. And here it is right here. It's $199. 2,000 feet squared coverage. It holds up to 200. It says it's rated for 250 plus devices. Wi-Fi 5, 3x3 MIMO, powered using PoE. Let's go to the technical specs. Yeah, I said 14 inches. It's actually 13.5 inches by 7.1. Actually, it's 2.4. Oh, 2.4 inches deep, but that must be with the actual from the mount to the front of the unit, because the unit itself is only about 1.5 inches. So it's got 2 gigabit ports, Ethernet ports. Management interface could be Ethernet or Bluetooth, PoE power. Like I said, it comes with the gigabit PoE power adapter when you buy it. 48 volt, 0.5 amps, not in the 5 packs, just the single pack. The maximum power consumption. Let me see if I can make this bigger for you guys. Actually, can I? Yeah. Maximum power consumption is 9 watts. Maximum transmit power 2.4 gig, 22 dBm, 5 gig, 22 dBm. MIMO is 3x3 on both bands. The throughput is rated at 450 on the 2.4 and 1300 megabits per second on the 5 gig. Antenna gain is 8 dBi. Again, pole or wall mount operating temperature minus 40 to 158 degrees. And let's see. Wi-Fi standards 802.11a all the way up to AC. Here's the security. Supports VLANs, the typical concurrent 250, and then all your supported data rates. So there you go. All right. I really wish I could have gotten this guy adopted online, but okay. Well, whatever. We'll figure it out. All right. So how we doing here? Where are we? We have been online for 1 hour and 12 minutes. Holy crap. Time flies, I guess, when you're having fun. We got 6 of you here, 7 likes. All right, so talked about the Rodecaster Pro. Showed you the audio equipment that is the successor to the Rodecaster Pro. Re-racked the rack today, reconfigured the rack. Showed you the new Mac Studio, just a shot of it. Gave you the tour of the Schwartz Talking Sports set. Yeah, the only thing I have left is I want to share a ride that I did with you guys. Now, we went out to Mount Airy, North Carolina, which is about 265 miles. There was 5 of us. We rode by motorcycle. We had beautiful weather going and coming. We did the ride out in one day, the ride back in the third day. The middle day, we stayed there and did the touristy thing. But you got to be familiar with the Andy Griffith Show. Ron Howard played Opie. Ron Howard is the famous Hollywood producer. Andy Griffith starred on Matlock towards the end of his career. I forget what other shows he was on besides the actual Andy Griffith Show and Mayberry RFD. But you have to know the Andy Griffith Show to appreciate not only the pictures that I'm going to show you, but the history of Mount Airy. So if you don't mind indulging me for a few minutes, I'll share some of the pictures with you and some of the history that I learned as well while I was there. Mount Airy, North Carolina is where Andy Griffith grew up. That's his hometown. For those of you that don't know, the show, the Andy Griffith Show, was filmed on a back lot in California studios None of it was filmed in actual Mount Airy, but the actual show itself and the set, the backlot set, was the inspiration was Mount Airy, Andy Griffin's hometown. So, well, as we get into the pictures, I got to bring them up. I got to get into my Synology. Okay, let me get into Synology photos. Okay, let me switch back to the super source. Okay, so here we are. This is the middle day. This is the day after we rode out there. The night we rode out there, we basically went for Mexican food. Fortunately, there was a Mexican restaurant across the street from the hotel, walking distance. So we were able to not have to get on the bikes that same day after spending 265 miles. So in the saddle. So as you can see here, we're at Aunt B's Hickory Smoke Barbecue Dairy Bar for breakfast. Now, again, if you're familiar with the Andy Griffin Show, Aunt B was the aunt that Andy and Opie lived with in their Mayberry home. So they named the restaurant after her in Mount Airy. Actually, it's a chain. There's a couple of them, but it's that whole touristy thing about being at Aunt B's. That's me right here from right to left. This is Les right here. Les, the host of the Sports Talking Sports talk show. This is my friend James. This is my friend Pete. And this is my friend Ryan. Well, we're all friends, but the five of us, we rode out and we had a nice time that day. Well, those 3 days. So again, okay, so this is Aunt B's. So then from breakfast, that middle day, we went to Floyd's Barbershop. Now, again, you have to know the history of Floyd's Barbershop. If you watch the Andy Griffin Show, there was Floyd's Barbershop on the Andy Griffin Show. And this gentleman here, his name is Bill, the guy in the white shirt. He's the owner of Floyd's Barbershop. His father was the original owner of the shop, and his father was the original Floyd, who the character on the Andy Griffin Show was modeled after. So there's a lot of history there. If you can kind of look at all the pictures on the wall, there's some famous country stars and lots of people stop in. This gentleman right here, he doesn't even worry about doing haircuts anymore. He loves when the tourist people come in. He just wants to tell the story and the history of the shop. Like, for example, the chair that this is James right here, the chair that James is sitting in is 100 years old, and it's the same chair that Andy Griffin sat in to get his hair cut growing up by this guy Bill's father, Floyd. So you should get it. And there I am sitting in the same chair, so I could actually say that I rub butts with Andy Griffin. Anyway, again, there's a closer shot. You can see like how old the sink is and the cabinet, and I mean the place has not been redone since the days of Andy Griffin being a little child. Now this picture right here, this picture is Andy Griffin sitting in that chair. It's obviously a piece of artwork that was done up by somebody. And this gentleman here is the original Floyd, who is the inspiration for the character Floyd on the Andy Griffin Show that was filmed in California. So that's pretty cool. That was hanging on the wall in the barbershop. And I don't know if you could see right down here, but here's the original. Actually, this is the original Floyd that owns the Floyd's Barbershop in Mount Airy, North Carolina. And this, you can see this picture down here, is the actual Floyd character in the Andy Griffin Show. And this character down here was inspired by this actual real life Floyd. I guess that's what I was trying to say. So in any event, why do I have that? Let me get that off the screen. Okay. So I don't know if you guys are seeing this. I hope you are. It looks like my stream is way behind on YouTube, but in any event, I'm going to keep going. All right, so here are the 5 of us again, and if you could see up here, the paint, it says Opie's Treehouse. This was a candy store. It had all the old-time candy from years ago, like the shoestring licorice and things like that. Has the best milkshakes in the area. I mean, we had vanilla shakes that day that were to die for. And there's just another shot of us. Okay, here I am in the Mayberry Courthouse. I'm actually in this. There were two cells. There were 2 jail cells in the courthouse. The one on the right here with the cot you see in the rocking chair. If you remember the show, Otis the drunk always used to check himself in on the weekends, so he can get a couple of good nights rest. And the funny thing, the whole joke about the whole thing was the key to the jail cell to the cells were, was situated right between the 2 cells and within easy reach of the actual inmates, so to speak. Whoops. So here we are. That's me trying to reach for, making like I'm reaching for the actual key to get out of the cell. I actually got the key. Look at the look on my face. I was like, ha ha. And then here I am. I got the key. So I'm busting out of this place. So in any event, here I am sitting at the sheriff's desk. This is where Andy sat most of the time. Well, in the show. Just a couple more shots. I have been looking high and low for a candlestick, working version of a candlestick phone so that I could connect to my Grandstream ATA, but I have been unsuccessful in locating one. But in any event, I will succeed at some point. I thought for sure in Mayberry in the shops that I would have found one, but no. Okay, and then there's an outside picture of the Mayberry Courthouse. The actual replica, they actually have buildings replicating the scenes of the show. And there's a picture of me in front of the courthouse. Here I am in front of Wally's gas station. Excuse me, this is where Goober worked on the show. And then here's a picture of James and Les and these 2 random women who came up and said, "Can we take a picture with you boys?" Notice the car in the background. That's the sheriff's car. They have 5 or 6 cars in Mayberry or in Mount Airy that they do tours. We actually did a tour in the police car. It was pretty cool. The guy gives you a history of the town. He takes you past Andy Griffin's home, takes you past Andy Griffin's school, takes you past the church where Andy Griffin worshipped, took us on a tour of Mount Airy. One thing I did not know is that Mount Airy has the largest granite mine in the world. And in fact, 100% of the granite in Washington, D.C. comes from the Mount Airy granite mine. It was fascinating to see. And of course, then he, took us through the mountains with the siren and everything. It was wild. And now this is a building in Mount Airy, and from left to right, it has all of the images of Andy. This is young Andy all the way up through the various shows. And then the last one is Andy when he was on Matlock. So that's definitely was, and I'm taking the picture from the actual police car. You can see the police car here. I had my hand sticking out the actual police car to get this picture. The guy was like, "If you want to get out, you can." I was like, "Yeah, that's okay. If I get out, I don't know that I'll be able to get back in." You saw the 5 of us, right? I mean, we were squashed in that car. So, okay. And then this is the house that Andy Griffin grew up in. It's still there. The original house, I believe they said, went from this area where the flag is over to this bush right here on the right side of the door. And then they had this addition put on here. The house is still in existence. It is now a B&B that gets rented. It's owned by the actual Hampton Inn Corporation. And here's an interesting fun fact. Every third weekend in September. In fact, I believe it was actually it's this weekend. It's tonight, today, tomorrow, and Sunday. They do Mayberry Festival, and they have over 40,000 people flock Mount Airy. This is why we went 2 weeks ago. We thought about going, but we just didn't want to be amongst all that craziness. The fun fact is, if you can stay and rent, let me go back one picture. You can rent this house if you want to stay there for Mayberry Fest. They're looking at 2040. In other words, nothing's available. If you want to stay in this house for one of the Mayberry Fests, the earliest they have available for the Mayberry Fest is the year 2040. Is that insane? Otherwise, on a regular time, if you just want to go up to visit Mount Airy and stay in that house, and it's not the Mayberry Festival weekend, I think they said they were 6 months out booking. And then here's a picture of me in front of Wally's Towing. And then there's my bike in front of Emmett's Fix-It Shop. And I think that's the last picture. Oh no, here's a cool story. This is on the main drag in Mayberry, Mount Airy, and it's an Italian restaurant. This woman here, her name is Boo. We call her Boo. This is Angela. This is Ernie. Notice the gold chains and the slick back hair. And, well, you know that guy. Who would have thunk that I went to the mountains of North Carolina and found the best Italian food in my life that I've ever eaten? These people are from Staten Island, New York. They moved to Mount Airy back in January and opened up this family restaurant. The food is phenomenal. We went there. We did the pre-ride. James and I did the pre-ride 2 weeks before we took the other three guys up there. James and I ate there both times. The food was phenomenal. I had the best cannoli I've ever had in my life. Who would have thunk I would have found an Italian restaurant so authentic in Mayberry country? So anyway, and then on the way home, we stopped at Cox's Harley Davidson, and then there's just a selfie of all of us before we were getting back on the bikes. So anyway, I hope you liked that little slideshow of Mayberry or Mount Airy, North Carolina. Let's go back to the actual chat. I'm looking at the stream, and I am way behind. Like, the stream is way behind me, unless it's just my computer's lagging. But what I'm seeing on my screen right now is, here, let me bring it up on the screen for a second. What I'm seeing on the screen right now is this picture. This is James in the Floyd barbershop. That was a while ago. I can't believe the stream is that far behind. All right, well, let's go back here. Let me go back to the chat one last time, see what you all have to say. And we're going to wrap. We're going to call it a wrap after this. I'm sorry, Joe. I just saw this. Yep, I will do that. I'll go back and I'll look at the specs of the LR. Jay says, all wrapped up at the game. I'll be listening while driving back. 2.5. Oh, wow, 2.5 hours. The new sound system on the bike is absolutely awesome, phenomenal. And no, they served good Mexican food. Yeah, it was really fun, especially for you saw the gentlemen. We're all around the same age, with the exception of the one guy. He's quite a few years older than us. It was fun. It was like going through a time warp. I have to say, it was like I felt like a little kid. And even though the show was never filmed there, the nostalgia makes it so real. Like it is there. It was there. And oh, the other thing the guy told us about when we were going around the tour in the police car, I asked him the question. I said, because if you walk down Main Street Mayberry, everything says, I'm sorry, Main Street Mount Airy, everything says Mayberry. It's Mayberry Auto Sales, Mayberry Market, Mayberry this, Mayberry that. Like, why not just like put up a petition to change the name from Mount Airy, North Carolina to Mayberry? So at least that's what I was thinking. So I asked the guy who was taking us around on the tour, and here's another little tidbit of information I never knew. I said to the guy, why did they ever consider changing the name of Mount Airy to Mayberry, since there really isn't a Mayberry? How did they come up with the name Mayberry for the show, since the show was inspired by Mount Airy? And he said, actually, no, they never even discussed changing the name from Mount Airy to Mayberry. But in fact, there is a Mayberry, but not in North Carolina, but 3 miles. We were 3 miles from the Virginia border. So he said right across the border in Virginia is Mayberry, Virginia. And the connection to the television show is that Andy Griffin's mother was born in Mayberry, Virginia. So that's the connection. That's the bond there. So in any event, I thought that was a pretty interesting tidbit of information. The other piece of information too that I thought was interesting is he was saying that Thelma Lou, who played Barney's girlfriend, actually moved to Mount Airy and spent the last 15 years of her life amongst the folks of Mount Airy because it felt so much like home, which was pretty cool. And the other piece was that Andy was, poor growing up, and the church that he worshiped at, he couldn't afford to go to college. They actually paid his college tuition, hoping that he would come back as a minister and serve the community. Well, obviously that didn't happen, and however it played out with whatever, but it was just some interesting fun facts that was shared that I did not know about the show. So anyway, Jeremy says, you're making me have flashbacks of watching the show in syndication when I was a kid. Yep. Surprised they let you sit in all of these spots. Did you have to pay? We only had to pay for the ride in the sheriff's car. It was $50 for the car, and then we split it by however many people in the car. Everything else was free. How did you hear of this place like to visit? Being a fan of the Andy Griffin Show, you just Google Mayberry and, it comes up like, well, there is no Mayberry, but, it was inspired by Mount Airy, North Carolina, which is where Andy grew up. In fact, in the show, they referred to Mount Pilot as another town. Well, when you're driving and you're approaching Mount Airy, there's this huge, huge, huge mountain, and it's called Pilot Mountain, not Mount Pilot like in the show. But again, Mount Pilot in the show was inspired by Pilot Mountain. So again, it's kind of interesting. No, I'm not looking lean. I'm actually looking the opposite of lean, whatever that is. So, all right, Joe, you want me to bring up the specs to the UAP. Let me get that last comment off the screen. The LR to the UAP mesh. All right, let me do that real quick. And I think we're going to wrap it. 9 of you here still, right? I'll take it. 9 of you here, 7 likes. Let's smash that like button and get it equal. Not too greedy, am I? All right, where am I? Wi-Fi. Oh boy, I zoomed in here. Let's get it back out there. Okay, and let's switch over. I'm just gonna go to the computer just so I can go split screen. So let me bring up this one, and then let's go back. Let's bring up the other one, the LR, U6 Plus, U6 Professional. U6 light, U6 long range. Okay, so price difference is $179 for the the U6 LR, and the mesh is $199. Let me see if I can get these side by side. Hold on. Let's do this and this. Let's do this. Surprised the power is still on. All right, let's do this. All right, so let's go down to, let's see, 2,000 square feet, 2,000 foot squared for the Mesh Professional. Same thing for the U6 LR. 350 plus rated connected devices versus 250. 3x3 MIMO for the Mesh Professional. 4x4 MIMO for the U6 LR. Probably should have gotten that one. Let's go down to, real quick, the tech specs on both. Obviously, the size is going to be much different because the form factor is completely different. We'll just see if we can get like a similarity. 2 gigabit Ethernet ports on the Pro versus 1 on the LR. Management, both are Ethernet and Bluetooth. Both are passive PoE 48 volt. Maximum power consumption on the LR is 9 watts versus 18.5 on the LR. It's just a little more than double. 26 dBm for the max trans power versus 22 for the Pro. Again, 3x3 MIMO for the Pro, 4x4 for the LR. Throughput 450 and 1300 for the Pro, 600 and 2400 for the LR, and it's about all she wrote. So there's your comparison of specs. We covered a lot in tonight's stream. There's 8 of you here, 8 likes. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate that. Hope you enjoy your weekend. Be safe for those of you who are, the storm that's here, that's traveling up the coast, is heading up towards the northeast. So, be careful with that, and stay safe, you all. And probably we'll have a couple of videos coming out next week. I think I'm going to do one more on the KiloView D350 decoder, and then, I wanted to show, but I'm going to wrap the stream. You have to wait for the video. I meant to at least show this. This is the KiloView. Is this the E3? Hold on. This is the D350 box. Oh, hold on. Still in the plastic. I haven't even taken the plastic off. This is the E3 encoder. So after I finish with the videos on the decoder, we're going to break this puppy open, explore it, and then we'll do some testing with the encoder and the decoder together. So, all right, one last look at the comments, and there's only one, and that's Joe. He says, I bet the mesh is better weather sealed though. Possibly. Like I said, this is the first time I'm seeing the mesh hands-on, and I've not had my hands on the new LR. I have an old LR sitting in the back in a box. So in any event, I want to thank you guys for all being here and sticking in with me. It is 11:19. I've been live now for an hour and almost 40 minutes. So for a rare Friday night stream for me, I'll take it. Thank you guys all for being here. Stay safe, and we'll see you all in the next video.